Greetings, knitting neighbours and crafty comrades. I'm so glad to have you join me for another episode of Bobolog. My name is Bobby Olin and I am a knitter and fibre crafts explorer in Victoria, Australia. I live with my partner on the lands of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people, and I would like to acknowledge them and pay my respects to their elders, past, present and future. A little housekeeping to get us started today. You will find links in the YouTube description below to all of the companies, items, etc., anything that I discuss. If I have missed any, please let me know and I'll do my best to include them and update that. You can also find me on Instagram at Platypus Knitting and on Ravelry under my own name, Bobby Olin. This episode is going to be a bit of a departure from the norm. I am not going to be going through my usual segments because I am going to be talking about the Sheep and Wool show. I was going to say festival, but it's the Sheep and Wool show, which I attended for the very first time this past weekend. So that is it's an annual event. It is largely an agricultural event, as you can probably guess from the name. It's the Sheep and Wool Show, not a fibre and yarn and knitting festival. So it is mostly about the sheep, which is of course lovely, but they have a lot of the byproducts that come from sheep. So they've got, like Ugg boots and workwear for farmers and tractors and wool and yarn, of course, and fleece and fibre and all those sorts of goodies. So it is something that I had heard of a few years ago, but I just never got around to attending it. And then, of course, the last year and possibly the year before as well, I'm not 100% sure, but it hasn't actually taken place. So this is the first year that I have actually attended it. I did buy a ticket to go last year, but it was cancelled last minute. Really, literally last minute. All the stall holders had gone and set up, and the day before that it was going to start, it had to get cancelled, which was really sad, but back this year, and I really enjoyed myself. So I thought I would start first by talking about my day and how I got there and how I got around. The show takes place in Bendigo, so if you look up on social media the hashtag spendigo, it's not a nickname I'd been aware of before, but I've been seeing it a lot in the lead up to this one, so I thought that was a bit of a fun, cute nickname for it. Anyway, so it's in Bendigo. It's a 2-hour drive from where I'm living, and I wasn't sure how long I would want to spend there. I assumed that I'd be there the whole day, so it goes from 9 to 5 each day that it's on. It's on over a weekend, so, well, a bit more than a weekend. It's from a Friday to a Sunday, so it's open 9 to 5 each of those days. So I wanted to get there at 9 when it's opened, and I assumed that I would be there until 5 o'clock when it was done for the day. So I woke up very early. I set my alarm for 6 in the morning, and I got up, made some coffee, and I drove there, and then I just stopped somewhere in Bendigo to pick up some breakfast before heading to the show. So I had pre-booked parking. I think that was a good idea. There was plenty of parking on site, and once I managed to actually find the gate, the entryway, they had people directing you where to go. So it's not like there's just huge open spaces and you park anywhere willy-nilly. They were really directing cars where to go so that they were filling up the space in the most efficient way possible So that was good. Parking wasn't a problem. When I first got there, I did turn down the wrong street initially because my GPS was telling me that the entrance was down some other street, and that kind of just led to a dead end. But there were a lot of cars just parking along that road that it had told me to go down, and there were a lot of spaces left there. So I guess if you are planning to go and you're planning to drive and you want to get there early, I'm sure you'll still be able to find plenty of free parking spots close enough to the Prince of Wales Showgrounds, which is where it is. So anyway, I thought that was really good that they were directing people where to park. But after that, beyond that, there was no signage, and I didn't really know where to go. It's not like there were huge masses of people that I could follow from the parking lot heading in. There were a lot of people walking in, so the cars drive through the same gate that the pedestrian foot traffic enters from. So if I had parked elsewhere, or if I had gotten there by some other means and had walked in, I could have followed the crowds and known where to go. But because I was in the parking lot and there weren't a lot of people moving in at the same time as I was, I got a bit lost, and I found one pavilion and I went through it. That particular one didn't have any yarn stuff. And then I got to the other end and outside, and it was still just like open spaces, and I couldn't see where else to go. So I did a fair bit of wandering around before I found where there was actually stuff to look at. And I think I ended up following back the path where I had driven, which isn't going to make sense to a lot of you because we're not looking at a map and I can't point things out and it's all in my head and you can't see what's in my head and what's in my memories. So anyway, I found my way to the actual stuff and I started wandering around. So I went through one pavilion that had yarny goodness and lots of other things too, and I had a good look through there. It was really great to see so many indie dyers and yarn stores and just names that I have seen online here and there that I had never seen in person, so that was really nice. There were others, of course, that I have seen in person. The first stall that I saw when I walked in was Little Woolly Makes, which is a yarn store in Hastings on the Mornington Peninsula. I have only visited them once because it's not really my area, but I went there recently and it was a really lovely little store, so it was nice to see them there. And yeah, so I walked through that one, and then once I got out of that one, there was another pavilion next door to it, so I went through that one as well, and I think those were the two sort of main pavilions for that kind of shopping. And then when I exited that one, again, I felt lost and I didn't really know where to go, and I kind of just wandered around a bit. There were a whole lot of booths outdoors in an outdoor arena, and I walked through there, but they were mainly things for farmers. So there were huge ones that were just selling like boots and socks, and like I remember like one had a sign out the front that was like, I don't know, 12 pairs of socks for $100 or something like that. It was all your mass-produced stuff, and I didn't look at any of those. I wasn't there to shop for that kind of clothing or anything like that, so I kind of just had a look at them as I was walking past, but didn't stop at any of them. They had food vendors, and not just food trucks and things, but like local producers of like teas and honeys and spices and salami and all sorts of different things. They had stalls for tools and machinery and equipment, and there was like an area that was full of tractors, and that was all really cool to see. But I just like kind of look at it and I'm like, yeah, I don't understand this stuff, but that's really neat. So I didn't stop at any of it. And there was a point where I found a map that they'd put on the shelf, that was, showing, it was a site map, and it was saying like, this is this pavilion and this is this pavilion and this is that and this is that. But it didn't have like a "you are here" thing. So I kind of had to guess where I was. And I sort of figured out I've been to these two pavilions here. There are these other pavilions here that I don't know what they are. So I went that way. I went the other way, towards the other really big pavilions that I hadn't been to. And those ones were full of sheep, which was really cool. I have never seen a sheep up close before, and I was really surprised by how big they were. So I'm a short person. I'm about 4'9". I'm around like 145 centimeters or something like that. I can't remember when I last measured my height. But anyway, I'm a short person, and I swear, like, there were so many sheep that were up to my shoulders. They were huge. And I had a bit of a laugh at myself, because there was a point in time where I was thinking, I really like all of this knitting stuff. I really like all of this wool and yarn and fiber stuff. I wonder, like, if I could ever be a sheep shearer. And I knew that, that was just a complete fantasy, and it's never something that I could never actually see myself doing it. But it popped into my mind at some point, and then I saw how big these sheep were, and it was just like, nah, like if they're standing on their hind legs and kind of upright, they're going to be a lot bigger than I am. I am not going to be able to handle an animal like that. But yeah, it was really nice to see them. I, was looking around at all of the different breeds that it was saying, but I really don't know sheep well enough to look at one and be like, oh, I recognize that as a Corriedale or whatever. And it's not like by the end of it I was able to start recognizing them. As a complete newbie, a lot of them still looked very much the same as each other to me. The differences were when there were rams with horns that were, different sizes and going in different directions and that kind of thing. But I still couldn't tell you what's what. But that was a lot of fun. I patted one sheep, and I didn't inspect them, but I could see other people going around, and like pulling the wool apart and seeing like what the fiber looked like underneath the surface. And I walked past one judging thing, but again, I didn't really understand what was going on. They have a lot of events on throughout the day. Most of them are to do with sheep. So there's all the judging competitions, and then, they've got shearing events, and then they have all of these different talks. Like there was, estate planning for farmers, and I don't know, all sorts of things that were really focused on the sheep farming side of things. They had a few other things going on as well that I would have been interested in, like fashion parades and stuff. But I think because I had gone into it expecting that it would be such a huge, massive event, and I wouldn't even get around to all of the stalls, I didn't plan to go to any of those other things. So when I was walking past the judging, for example, I didn't really stop and try to pay attention to what was actually happening as part of the judging process. I kind of just walked around and looked at the sheep as I went, and then walked back around to get back to the start of it, and that was kind of it. And then when I left the two really big sheep pavilions, I was kind of like, is that it? Like, is that all there is to see? Am I missing something? Like, I thought there would be more. And that's not to say that what I had already seen wasn't a lot, because I had definitely already seen a lot. I think it's just that I expected more. And then I was thinking about all of the posts I'd seen in my Instagram feed, and I realized that, hang on, this isn't all, because there are definitely companies that I'd seen post about their stalls that I haven't seen yet. So I just have to figure out where they are. So I found the map again and I looked at it, and I realized, you know, there were all these other sheds and things that I'd missed. So I went back to the very start, and they were there. They were in another direction, but they were right there where I had started. But because they were in smaller pavilions, they were in what were called the industrial sheds rather than pavilions, I'd missed them because they didn't look, I couldn't tell that there was stuff in them, which is a bit of a dummy thing, or maybe they just hadn't completely set up the stuff outside of it when I had first arrived and started walking around, because they did have like big, you know, banner signs, things saying Woolcraft outside of them, and I just somehow walked right past them. Anyway, so there were still quite a few sheds that I hadn't looked at, so that was great. There was plenty more to see, and I was very happy. So before I go ahead and show you all of the things that I bought, I kind of just wanted to explain my mindset going into it. So when I had gone to the Coburg yarn market earlier in the year, I had bought one skein of yarn there, and I had said that I actually found it a little bit stressful trying to choose a skein of yarn to take home with me from all of the stalls that were there. And I wanted to do it because I wanted to have a stash that was a bit more playful and not as like, you know, you've got this a sweater quantity here that was purchased to be a sweater and to be something specific, and you've got this here that was, you know, meant to be this, and like, you know, they're really hard because I have so many things earmarked for various projects. It's hard to sort of bring things together and play around with things. So when I went to the Coburg yarn market, I was thinking, I want to get yarn to just have fun with, and for the times when I just want to like cast on something new and, I don't know, do whatever. But then I found it a bit stressful trying to choose one, because there were so many beautiful yarns and there were so many that I loved. It's not like there was one that was like, ooh, that's the one, I have to have that one. There were so many that were like, oh, I would love to have that, and I would love to have that, and I would love to have that. So choosing was really hard for me. So when I was driving up to Bendigo for this one, I sort of decided that I wasn't going to buy yarn unless it was something that I had gone there intending to get, because I didn't want to put that pressure on myself again. So while I was walking around, I did stop at all of the different yarn stores and have a look around, but I had an expectation that I wasn't really going to buy anything just because I thought that it was really pretty. I just wanted to get the specific things that I wanted. So I didn't spend as much time at each stall as I probably could have, because of that mindset that I had put myself in. And while, again, there were so many gorgeous yarns, so many gorgeous yarns, it's that same problem of, well, how do I actually choose one? Because if I was letting myself buy yarn, I would want to buy so many. And I think even though I had said earlier this year that I don't necessarily like always just buying yarn because there's a specific project I have in mind that I want to make, I think that that way of thinking just actually does work better for me. So yeah, so I was looking at all the yarns, and I'd see some that were nice, but then it's like if I actually wanted to get it, then I'd have to pull out my phone and check my Ravelry queue and figure out, like, well, what would I actually want to make with this yarn? And I just wanted to be there and be present for the show and not be, on my phone trying to figure out all of those logistics. So I did buy yarn. There was one yarn that I bought that wasn't planned, but the other two that I bought were things that I had gone there hoping to find and to take home. So yeah, that was kind of the mindset that I was in. Um, yeah, maybe next time I'll try to be a bit more open, because I feel like because I was in that mindset, I didn't spend the time looking at everything as much as I could have, because I was like, well, if I'm not buying, then I'm not really gonna like browse too much, because then what if that makes me want to, buy everything, and I didn't necessarily want to do that, but I should still allow myself to enjoy just like seeing the yarn and feeling the yarn, and talking to the stall holders. That was something else that I wish I had done more. There were definitely stalls that I went into and I had talked to very briefly to the people manning the booths, but it was also very much like, I'm an introvert and I'm very shy, and there were moments where I was like, oh, I want to like introduce myself to them and find out who they are and really like, start a proper conversation. But I don't know, I was just too shy. I was like, would that just be weird for me to be like, hey, I'm Bobby, what's your name? And like, hey, I'm Bobby, and can you tell me more about, like, I really like all your stuff. Can you tell me about it? But I'm not gonna buy it. So I don't know. I feel like I would like to get over that shyness, and because I do wanna like become more involved with the community. But if I can't even introduce myself, and if I'm too shy to talk to people, then um how do I really immerse myself in the community? Um, but yeah, anyway, that's a lot of like musings and ramblings about the show. Let me actually show you the stuff that I got. So I'm going to start with things that I bought that were on my list of stuff that I was looking for. So first thing is this gorgeous bag here. This is a project bag by Crystal Cat Stitchery. So this is actually my first actual project bag. Everything, oh, that's not true. Actually, I just remembered my crafty art. Oops. We'll look at that later. Put it elsewhere. Stay. My crafty aunt had made me this project bag before, and that's the only bag that I had had that was specifically for knitting. All of the other things that I used, so this basket, for example, it was just a nice basket, and I have this tote bag here. I've got lots of tote bags that just have projects in them, um, and that's what I've been using. None of them are specifically project bags for knitting. So I really wanted to get one for myself at this show. And I had seen Crystal Cat Stitchery on Instagram before, and I really loved her bag. So I was hoping that she would be there, but I didn't actually know because I didn't look up. But I really wanted a project bag, and I was hoping to get one of hers, and she was there. So I am so super happy with this project bag here. This sheepy design that she had in a few different colors. There was, I think, a white, a black, and a grey. Yeah, but anyway, I had to get the sheepy design, of course. Like the other prints that she had were beautiful, but sheep. I had to get sheep. So this is a great bag. You can tell that it's really like sturdily made. It's well put together. So you know, you've got your handles here. You've got a front zip pocket. I hate sewing zips myself. And then there's another pocket there, and then inside it is a drawstring closure, and then it also has an inner pocket. Inner pocket there. So it's such a great bag. It's so well made. I'm so happy. I'm so happy with it. I'm really glad that I got it. I did also buy stitch markers from her. So stitch markers were also on my list. So I got these ones, this set here. So they're this beautiful stone. And then of course it's got the one that is separate so that you can use it to mark a beginning of round or whatever. And they are lobster clasps. So I do have some of those progress keepers that are those little tiny lobster clasps that are like the ones that are in normal jewelry. And I actually find them really hard to open and close. I find them really hard to use. So while I do also have a whole lot of stitch markers that are on like earring clasps, so they're big, I don't always like using them. There's something about the way the metal clasp slides along my wooden needles that I just don't like. So I tend to I try to only use them when I'm using my metal needles. But I wanted to get some other ones that I could use on my wooden knitting needles. And this metal looks quite smooth and nice. It's a nice big opening, really easy to use closure there. So I'm really happy with those. So those were the two things that I got from Crystal Cat Stitchery, and they were on my list. The very first purchase that I actually made was something that was sort of on my list, sort of not. So if you've been watching my episodes for a while, then you'll know that I've really been getting into spinning lately, and I have been wanting to get a actual niddy noddy, because when I wind my hand spun on my Swift, I feel like I can't trust the meterage that I get. So there have been a couple of times that I have opened it up to a meter circumference using my measuring tape, and I marked on the post where that was, so that I didn't have to measure it out each time. But I did it twice, and the markings on the post were at very different spots, so I just felt like I couldn't trust it. So I've been wanting to get a niddy noddy. So my plan or my hope was to get a handcrafted niddy noddy, but the very first one I saw is actually by Ashford. And the reason that I got this is because it is the sample size, so it is a very small niddy noddy, which is great because as a beginner I'm still doing a lot of sample spins, and I have a lot of sample spins, so there'll be smaller skeins of yarn that won't go around a larger niddy noddy as well, so a smaller one is much more suitable for that. And I got this Ashford one because it was on sale, so I couldn't go past that. And I feel a bit clever. I have some washi tape that's like a measuring tape design, a vintage measuring tape design. So when I got home and I measured around it, I got that washi tape and cut out the numbers to put on there, so I know the distance around one full round of this niddy noddy. So the packet that it came in said that it's 90 centimeters around. I measured 94 centimeters, and that's what I put here. I will probably, when I wind yarn onto it, I will probably round down to the 90 centimeters, just, you know, to give myself that extra bit of leeway in case, you know, things aren't quite right, or, you know, if the yarn is being stretched around this and it's going to like shrink, it's going to pull in a bit once it comes off, then that just gives me a little allowance for that. This is great as well because it does come apart. One of these ends goes on a lot tighter than the other, so I'm going to leave that one, but it actually came in the packet separated, so in 3 different pieces. And so if I, you know, ever want to travel and take it with me, this would be a good one to take because, I mean, not only can I twist it so that it can be flattened, but I can pull it apart completely for extra portability. So that's one thing there. Since you already saw it, I'll show the other niddy noddy that I got. So this was actually the only other niddy noddy I saw that was, or I should say it is the only niddy noddy I saw that was handcrafted, which was a little disappointing. That is one of the things I was hoping to see more handmade tools and that kind of thing, and they just weren't there. For example, I had said that I was hoping to find a yarn gauge for spinning. There wasn't one. There just wasn't one at all. There wasn't one that had the twist angle stuff that I you know wanted to have. And anyway, that's an aside. This is the other niddy noddy that I got, and I do think it is beautiful. It's got my washi tape measurement there. It does have a few rough finishy bits, like you can see around the washi tape there. It's just a bit, I don't know, the glue or the stain or something like that. This one doesn't come apart as well. And yeah, you can see like they missed a bit of the wax there or something. Anyway, this one doesn't come apart, but it's a nice big one. I think that the wood is beautiful, and it is from the Bendigo Woodturners Incorporation. So, you know, they had some other nice things, but I was after a niddy noddy, so I got that one. It's made out of Tassie oak and finished with wax. And this was $31. So I thought that was a steal. I have seen commercial niddy noddies for double the price, so I thought that was really great, and I was hoping to find something that was, you know, handcrafted. And I mean, this would have had machinery involved, but you know what I mean. It wasn't commercially manufactured. Yeah, so I'm really happy with that niddy noddy there, and that one measured 189 centimeters going all the way around. So I'd probably, you know, assume 185 to give me that allowance for differences and things. So that's that. I got one other thing from them. Again, partly because this was the only handcrafted version of it that I saw. There, let me show it to you. It's this. So this is a wraps per inch tool. So I haven't actually measured, but you know, you can pretty easily guess that that's half an inch, that's 1 inch, and that's probably 2 inches. So you wrap your yarn around it, and depending on how many strands you can fit in that inch, it can give you an indication of what weight yarn you've got. So it is nice. This one I feel like I might want to give like a bit of a polish to, or like maybe even just some linseed oil or something like that. It doesn't feel like it has the same finish as the Nitty Noddy. It feels a bit rougher. But the only other wraps per inch tools that I had seen were again commercially made ones, and that wasn't what I was after going to the show. So yeah, I am really happy with that one. I have considered drawing my own twist angle guides on that, but part of me also just wants to leave that as is and leave it pure. So yeah, yeah, happy with that one there. What else was on my list? Oh, so I don't have any stitch stoppers, and in all of my years of knitting, I had never felt like I needed one until this year, I think. I can't remember what project that was for, though, but I feel like in the past year, there have been a couple of instances where I've wanted stitch stoppers. So they were also on my list to find, and these were the ones that I picked up. I think that they're so cute. These guys had a whole lot of different adorable designs, but I was only going to let myself get one, so I got the hot air balloons, which I absolutely love, and I'm looking forward to using those. Yeah, they had some really cute animal ones. They had, you know, yeah, they had all sorts of like cute flora and fauna, and they also had a whole lot of stitch markers and yeah, a bunch of really cute stuff, but that was my favorite, so that's the one that I picked up there. Next is, I think the only other things that were on my list were yarn. So surprise, surprise, I wanted to pick up some Tarndie. I actually hadn't intended on picking up any of their yarn because I still have quite a bit of their yarn in my stash, and I have just finished a big project with their yarn, so I've been thinking that I should branch out into other yarns for a while and try other things. But anyway, I saw recently that they had lace weight yarn, which is great for weaving, back on their online store. So I told myself if they have it at Bendigo, I will pick some up. And they did. So I did. So it is this gorgeous, gorgeous undyed, really beautifully, finely spun lace weight Polwarth. And they had a sample there of it woven. And when I was chatting to Tom and Jason, I think it was Tom that told me that it was actually woven by Judith, who was at the same natural dyeing course at Tarndie with me, and had given me some of the yarn that she had dyed, which I used to make a beanie. Anyway, so I thought that was really cool that one of the samples that they had was by Judith. I thought that was really neat. I got this. So the thing is, I bought it, and my intention for it is weaving. I want to try naturally dyeing maybe half of it and then weaving them together in some project. But after I picked it up, I'm now just looking at it thinking like I want to use it in knitting. So now I don't know. I'm also really not sure that my loom would work well with yarn that's this fine. And I'm not interested in buying another loom. So we'll have to see what this ends up being. But I was so super happy that they had that there. The other yarn that I purchased that I had intended on buying was some Fairfield fins. Here it is here. It is a huge cake. It is 200 grams of 4-ply, naturally dyed. I'm kicking myself because they told me what they had used to dye all of the different colors, and I cannot remember. Very annoyed at myself. This might be peach leaves. I have a feeling it's not though. I may have to try getting in touch with them and sending a photo and asking if yeah, if they could let me know what that one is. But it is mostly green. It has, you know, it moves into some sort of tealy bluey shades. So maybe it was partially dip dyed in indigo or something like that. I'm not, I really have no idea. Really kicking myself for that. But I've been wanting to try their yarn. And I am also kicking myself because my original intention was to get two different colors because the thing that I am wanting to use their yarn for uses two different colors, but I wasn't expecting a huge ball. Yeah, so if they were just like 50-gram balls of yarn, 50-gram cakes, or even maybe if they were, I mean, they did have, okay, so they did have smaller cakes. And I could have bought two different 100-gram cakes, but whenever there's a giant ball of cake, a giant ball of cake, whenever there's a giant ball of yarn, I just can't resist it. But then because I did buy such a big cake, I felt like, oh, I shouldn't go over and buy another 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 color. So I'm not really sure what I'll do, if I will pair this with some other 4-ply that I've got, or if I will try over dyeing some of this, or if I will just try doing the thing that I'm planning, using one color. But yes, that is the beautiful hand-dyed thin yarn that I've got there, that will eventually turn into something. Yeah, so that's it for the planned yarn. For unplanned yarn, there is one that I bought that I could not walk past. So it is hand spun. I believe it's mostly hand spun yarns by Kaalund yarns, and they had these mixed yarn florets that I just could not walk past. And here it is here. Doesn't that just look like so much fun? And the colors are so lovely. My favorite yarn, and probably the reason that I picked this floret, well, A, because it's green and I love greens, but this is just so much fun and so beautiful. This gorgeous hand spun yarn here, and oh, like that color is just gorgeous, and it's beautiful how it's you know, it's plied like a really thick single with like a really fine weight yarn, and just the variety in this floret is just gorgeous. They had like a whole rack thing of all the different florets, and I had so much trouble choosing one because they were all so beautiful. But yeah, I picked this one, and it's just gorgeous. I think I might actually just have to display it for a while before I end up using it, but my intention is to weave with it. So the thing is, because it's like, you know, leftover bits of yarn from when they've skeined up their other stuff, and what have you, they don't have like a meterage, a yardage for these. It is 100 grams, and that's all I know. So when I weave with it, I'm gonna just have to, I guess, you know, set up like a really long warp and know that I'll probably have some leftover warp, because I have no idea how long this will all go for. But I think it's going to make such a gorgeous, fun scarf or cowl or something. I think it's beautiful. Yeah, so I love that. And that's it for the yarn. The other unplanned purchases are, what are they? They're kind of non-knitting things, actually. So the first is from the Raffia Connection. I always want to say collection, but it's connection. So they had, I really wish I'd taken more photos while I was at the show as well. I don't know, I didn't film there because I knew that I wanted to, again, just be present and enjoy the experience and not be like pulling out my phone all the time trying to take nice shots of everything for you guys. I'm sorry. Next time I will, I promise. But this time I kind of just wanted to take it all in and experience it all. So yeah, and I just didn't take photos either. And again, I'm kind of kicking myself because memories. Anyway, so this Raffia store had all of these beautiful like baskets and vases and all of these like wall hangings and beautiful things. It's not a craft I'd ever considered doing myself, basketry, but their things were so pretty. And you know, one of the woman looking after the store was making one of the things herself, and I don't know, it just really appealed to me. So I was going to buy one of their basket kits, but then I saw that they had a tub full of like extra bits and pieces that was like $2. So I ended up just getting that. I love the colors on it, greens again. And a little starter kit because she was saying that this coil for starting is the hardest bit. So I got the starter kit there, that's just the coil with some extra raffia, and then I will use this scrappy stuff to make up the rest of the basket. I do think they have a needle with it, and she was using a needle to do it, but I reckon I'll probably just end up finding a crochet basket pattern that's like the same style, the same look, because I have seen them around. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And then also when I run out of this raffia here, I have some fabric yarn that I had made out of some old jeans that don't fit me anymore. So they're yellow jeans, and I cut them up into some yarn, and since then I haven't known what to do with them. But they did also have a couple of samples where the raffia was being wrapped around fabric strips. So I think that's what I'm going to do, and I think that's going to look really pretty. So that is one there. And then the last purchase, which is again really unexpected because it's not something that I had thought that I'd find or was looking for, but it's actually like a hair clip thing. For one thing, they're really, I just think they're really beautiful. This is the small size, and they had a bigger size, they had a medium, a large, and then like an extra large size. And I like the small one. I love these colorful beads. They had all sorts of different styles, and you know, colors and what have you, designs. But when I was looking at them, she actually offered to put one on me so that I could see what it looked like, which I thought was just really great. And it really sold me on it because I was looking at them thinking that they were pretty and they were really neat. And then she put one on, and it just holds so well, so truly. It doesn't feel like it's pulling at anything, but everything feels really secure. So as much as possible, I don't like tying up my hair, and I like using those alligator clip type things. So this is just another thing that I can use, plus it's gorgeous. And the way that you put it on is you kind of hook your fingers around, like through the beads on one end of it, and then that one slides into your hair, and then your fingers here can hold your hair in place while you stretch this over and then slide it in from the other side. And because it's stretchy, it looks really great over a bun. But I don't really do buns. I'm really lazy with my hair in general, so I'll just show you. So I'm sliding one end in, holding my hair, pulling the other end over, and sliding that in from the other side. It's so easy to use. I don't know if you can see it. And I think it's so pretty. So pretty. And I love it. I was tempted to buy more than one actually, but I thought that one was enough for starters. And I guess that is all of my purchases at the sheep show. So I will just kind of say one more thing, which is just that I had to keep reminding myself that it is the sheep and wool show. It's not the yarn and fibre show, because I was hoping to see more. I think I had just heard um, so much about all of the other fibre festivals all around the world and other ones in Australia as well that are focused on the fibre arts, and they just seem like they have so much. So I think in my head I was expecting something more like that, even though I knew this was a sheep and wool show. So, I mean, for example, there were things that I was hoping to find that just weren't there, like there was only one handcrafted niddy noddy. There was only one handcrafted wraps per inch tool. There were so many fleeces as you would expect from a sheep show. There were heaps of, fibers. There were a lot of people giving spinning demonstrations and selling spinning wheels and tools and that kind of thing. But, there wasn't like a twist angle tour or tool or, there were just, yeah, there wasn't like a twist angle tool. That wasn't like a commercial one. There wasn't what was the other thing that I was hoping to find? Oh yeah, I was hoping to find like a handmade Turkish spindle, and the only Turkish spindles that were there was a 3D printed one. And the one that I have right now is a 3D printed one, and it's fine, but it is really small, so I'm after a bigger spindle. But I also wanted a one made out of wood, so I didn't want to get another 3D printed one. And then the only wooden ones were from the Hand Weavers and Spinners Guild, and because I'd seen them at the guild store, I kind of felt like it wasn't going to be a special show purchase if I got it because I'd seen it elsewhere, so I didn't get it. And then I also justified it to myself by saying, well, if I'm going to get an actual spinning wheel, how much am I actually going to spin on the spindle anymore? So maybe I should just put that aside until I really want it. So yeah, I don't know. I had a really good time, and I really enjoyed myself, and it was like lovely just being out there with the community and seeing everything. But I guess I did just kind of want to say there were things that I was hoping to see that weren't there, and I just know what to expect next time. And I also probably want to try going around to the fibre festivals in other states if I can, to see what they're like. I keep pausing my recordings whenever the heater goes on, but I'm pretty much at the end, so I'm just going to power through. For next year, I am going to plan it all very differently. For one thing, I think that a group of friends in other parts of the country are all planning to come down, so we might get a place in Bendigo, so I don't need to plan for a 2-hour drive. Whether or not that happens, I think I just want to try to be a bit more involved. So I didn't go to any of the events because, like I said, I thought that I would be spending all day shopping and not have time for anything else. But I actually went home at about 2:30 is when I left. That was also because by that point I was just so tired. So if I'm planning that it's not actually going to take me all day, so I don't need to get there at 9 o'clock on the dot, then I'm not going to be as tired, and that I'll have more energy for going through and really seeing everything. I'll also feel like I have time to actually watch some judgings and competitions and demonstrations, and I would have liked to go to the shearing demonstration for once. For example, I would have liked to go to the fashion parade. They had two, a student one and a commercial one, I think. I didn't plan for going to those because I thought that I would be so caught up in all of the shopping aspect of things. But now I know that the shopping side of things isn't actually going to take me all day, so I can actually relax a bit more, spend more time talking to vendors and spend more time really like looking at everything, and I can go to the events that I want to go to. So yeah, that's just my thoughts on my first trip to the Sheep and Wool Show, to Spendigo, and how I'd like to go about it next year. And that is all I have to talk about today. It's all about the Sheep and Wool Show, and next episode I'll get back to my regular segments. So I hope you've enjoyed this ramble of mine. I hope that you've gotten something out of it, and I hope, yeah, I hope you've enjoyed. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you come back for more. So if you are still around, thank you so much for spending this time here with me today. I hope that you're finding time for your family and friends, for your crafting, and for yourself. Take care, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Fare thee well.